Ooh, that is jerky. Jerky as Ladies and gentlemen, Hyundai Elantra N. A lot of you have been asking for this, so here it is. First of all, big shout out to Fenton, son of the Zygreen YouTube channel, for making this review possible. Now, Elantra N, let's be real, it's a polarizing style. You got these creases on the side that make it look like it's dented. You got a face that only a mother could love, although I do hear it looks a lot better. And I've seen photos, if you vinyl wrap the paint, or vinyl wrap the bumper in the body paint color, it looks a lot better. But not gonna age well, I can guarantee you that. A little bit overstyled. The owner has some roof racks, the child seat in the back. Clearly a practical daily driver, but the question is it fun? And how does it compare to the Civic Type R, GR Corolla, the other cars in its class? It's a muddy day out here. We got pretty interesting looking wheels, very geometric, wrapped in Michelin PS4S rubber, 245 section width. And these are actually custom for Hyundai, which is why you see the HN right over there. We've got the GR Corolla out here today as well. If you haven't already, go check out the GR Corolla versus Elantra N comparison video. And with that out of the way, let's see how she drives. A very modern interior, and that can be a good or bad thing depending on how you look at that. A lot of screens here, some piano black, thicker bezels than I would like if I'm being honest, but it definitely feels like a modern car. Whether or not you like that is a personal preference. Right off the bat, this clutch has zero feel to it. Here we go. The car has multiple modes, and we're gonna take it nice and easy on this road today because it is, as you can see, not ideal conditions. We're starting off in normal mode. So getting into the car, I do enjoy the seating position. The seats are bolstered nicely, very supportive. They're grabbing my shoulders a little bit too tight, if I'm being honest. Civic Type R seats are more comfortable, but these are pretty good, I gotta say. I'm able to get decently low. Maybe if I could get a little bit lower, that would be ideal. Now this car is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged engine, pushing out 276 horsepower, 286 pound-feet of torque. And the car weighs 3,186 pounds. So power to weight seems okay, seems reasonable, but they're actually sandbagging this car. It makes more than that at the crank, because that's about how much it makes at the wheel. So after the drivetrain losses, they're definitely underrating this car. In normal mode, it's actually fairly comfortable, I gotta say. I'm still getting plenty of feedback and feel through the chassis. Woohoo! All right. When I was heel towing on the way up, not really having too much of a problem, although the owner did put a spacer on the throttle. So it moves the pedal towards the brake, left, as well as up towards the driver. And he says that makes it a lot easier to heel toe. If I'm being honest, I don't like it. It feels a little bit unnatural. The pedals are now too close together. And maybe it's good if you're a little lacking in dorsiflexion mobility with your ankle when you can't really go like this with your foot, but it's a bit overdone now. I think it feels a little bit unnatural. But the car does have rev match mode. So we go here to N, custom settings. We're now in N mode. Everything is really hardcore, including rev matching. So I'm in third gear now. I go to second. Ooh, that is jerky. Jerky as So then I tried doing it slower. Still a little bit jerky. So the rev matching, even in the max setting, Sport Plus. Actually, let's try it in the lower setting, normal. Okay, it's a little bit smoother there. If I go fast though, it's still pretty jerky. And again, if you're driving stick shift, just turn it off. You're ruining the whole point of buying a stick shift car in the first place. Just learn how to rev match yourself. Silky smooth, faster, no problem here. One thing that I do love about this car is actually the steering. A lot of front wheel drive cars, they lose some of that steering feedback because the front wheels, it's not an unadulterated, unfiltered feeling. It's corrupted by sending power through the front axle. But what Hyundai has done is they actually rack mounted the EPS motor, and the way that it loads up in the turns is quite notable. It gives decent feedback as well. You're getting good feedback, good road texture, but more importantly, you're able to sense as that front end loads up when you're cornering, putting that weight over the front axle. And I really like that. It helps you build confidence and understand what the car is doing as you push a little bit harder. Now this is an Econo box that's souped up, right? But in that Econo box, the base Elantra, they have torsion beam rear suspension. Over here, they upgraded that to multi-link rear. And they've also added stiffer bushings to the rear to help it rotate more willingly. They've really focused on giving a rewarding driver experience, which I love. Now the engine is not as glorious, let's say, as some of the competitors, namely the Civic Type R. But the pops and bangs, if you guys can hear that, that doesn't get old. There it is. They've tuned the turbo engine in a way such that it actually builds power as you get closer to red line. It doesn't quite die out, although there is a noticeable amount of turbo lag. I'd have to drive this back to back with the Civic Type R to comment more definitively, but I feel like it's a little bit more. And also compared to the Civic Type R, it definitely has more torque steer, without a doubt. You can tell that the Civic Type R has a more sophisticated front end geometry as you drive this, and granted, I'm driving this road wet, whereas when I drove both the FK8 and FL5 Civic Type Rs on the same road, which you can watch up here in these videos, it was definitely dry. The ELSD on this thing is doing a great job though, in that it's putting the power down. Without that inside front wheel would just be spinning, begging for traction. The LSD here doing the magic that we need for a front wheel drive performance car. Hop. As expected, the traction is pretty low and limited today. It is actually raining. Now this car has two options, either a 6-speed manual or an 8-speed wet DCT, and I'm kind of torn about the choice. So the 6-speed manual is going to be more engaging, but this is not the best. It's not the best transmission. The clutch has literally no feel at all, and the shifter is not very positive, not very mechanical. It's a little bit vague and not rubbery, but plasticky. It's not as rewarding as some other manual transmissions, especially in these performance-oriented cars. The Civic Type R and Corolla have far superior transmissions, actually. I haven't driven the DCT, but I have heard great things. This is a car that does have multiple personalities. When you change the drive mode, you can feel substantial change with regards to throttle response, with regards to suspension, how stiff the dampers are. And, you know, some people say that the car is too stiff. I think it's actually reasonable. It's definitely not as stiff as the FL5 or FK8 that I drove. And with the adjustability with the dampers, be able to find a reasonable spot for both driving it a little bit spiritedly, and then on the other end, being comfortable cruising around town. The other thing you really have to appreciate with the Hyundai Elantra N is that unlike GR86 or other cars that do require a bit of work to get it out on track, you know, with the GR86, I needed to add oil cooling as an example. With this car, Hyundai is saying that you can really just buy it and take it to the track. You don't need to do all that additional work to prepare it. And I do appreciate that. This is really built for the enthusiast. In terms of price, the car is $34,000. That's with the 6-speed manual. Add $1,500 if you want to go for the DCT. But that makes this the cheapest out of any of the competitors. So when you compare this to the Civic Type R, the GR Corolla, the Golf R, this definitely is quite a value at $34,000. The interior is not going to be as nice as the Civic Type R, although the GR Corolla doesn't really have a much nicer interior either. This is very fun and playful, more so than the Civic Type R. And then the dealer experience with Hyundai and Kia is always, I mean, you guys know how that is. Reliability is to be determined. But let me know what you guys think. Between this, the Civic Type R, GR Corolla, Golf R, what would you choose? And if you guys are in California or Las Vegas and you want me to review your cars, perhaps you have a Golf R or other cars you want me to compare, then please visit us at JubbalAndCars.com. Much love, my friends. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in that next one.